She greets him, but he doesn't answer at first. His posture reads composed and dignified. Just as she begins to move away, he addresses her and calls her Noona, a word that surprises her and makes the moment hold. He offers his name, Ji Taeho, and briefly reminds her that in middle school their families were neighbors and she used to invite him home for meals. Daye replies that she remembers, the answer practiced and polite, yet his careful gaze finds only fragments where full memories should be. Rather than press those gaps, he chooses a small, practical closeness. He corrects the way she holds her drink with a steady hand, a gesture so modest it almost reads as habit. When he asks to taste it, she allows him, and the shared motion breaks the initial awkwardness. He admits that had he known about her sooner, he would have reached out, and he mentions quietly that he has done well since those school days. Daye blinks, unsure what he means by success in a way that matters to her. She searches for footing in concrete memories and offers a vivid image, a boy falling from a tree while chasing a cicada, carried to the hospital by someone who felt older than her years. Tae-ho corrects her gently, saying that the boy was jinky. The correction arrives without judgment, more like a helping hand. Daye flushes with embarrassed relief and confesses that because she had grown taller than most classmates, she learned to act older and steadier than she felt. The word catches her off guard, pulling her back to another time. When children used to call out to her in playful voices, when she was the older one who carried small responsibilities with pride. However, she struggles to place him, certain she must have seen his face somewhere before, yet her poor memory refuses to cooperate. Curious, she asks if perhaps he has ever watched her perform. He admits that not only has he seen her many times on TV, but he has also followed her career closely and counts himself among her biggest fans. His words carry a calm confidence as he extends his hand, and she feels a quiet warmth in his touch. Wanting the moment to last, he asks if they can stay in contact. Since he carries no business card, she hands him her phone, and he carefully saves his number, assuring her that he will always answer whenever she calls during the day. She can't help but find it odd that a man of his status moves without a single card, but before the thought lingers, he finally lets out a faint smile. It softens his otherwise firm expression, and with effortless charm, he admits what he is: a player. She is taken aback by his sudden confession and blurts out the question, "What kind of player?" With a small, knowing smile, he clarifies that he is a baseball player, to be precise. He adds lightly that she wouldn't know him because she's never been a sports fan, and she laughs, the tension easing between them for a moment. But then, almost casually, he mentions that he has a game the next day, so he must leave soon. His schedule, he explains, is usually free on Mondays, though he isn't always in Seoul. Before turning away, he tells her to call him when she has time. And with that, he leaves her standing there. Once he disappears, the party feels strangely empty. Her glass is already drained, and she has no interest in small talk with strangers. She cannot even find the people she arrived with, so she decides to call it a night. On her way home, curiosity gets the better of her. She searches his name online. To her shock, article after article appears. Ji Taeho, an Asian Games gold medalist, winner of multiple championships, known to fans as the Baby Tiger. She shakes her head at the nickname, amused at the thought of a man his size being called a baby. Still, she admits that despite the name, he has become a dragon risen from a stream. And quietly, she feels relief. Relief that she hadn't bragged about herself earlier, which now would have been embarrassingly small in comparison. Back home, after a shower and collapsing onto her bed, her thoughts keep circling. She can't understand why she doesn't remember him, though she recalls being in her second year of middle school while Ji was in third grade. Suddenly, a memory flashes, yet the clarity quickly slips away. The next day, while on a call with her mother, she brings him up. But her mother dismisses it, insisting Ji wasn't the boy she's thinking of. Her mother reminds her that instead of a day she came home with a bloody cut on her thigh, insisting it was from her own fall, not anyone else's doing. She doesn't remember Ji well, but recalls that he cried when he heard they were moving, blaming himself for things that weren't his fault. In her memory, Ji was sickly as a child, not the type to play sports at all. Her mother's words leave Daye puzzled. She lies that she was just reminiscing, though in truth it feels more like a hazy dream. Her mom teases her about memory loss, blaming age, and Daye groans, telling her to stop. After the call, she reflects quietly. No one ever knows what a child will grow into until you see it with your own eyes. For a moment, she wonders if she should talk about Ji, about their past, or even about the strange encounter at the party, as a story on a variety show. But the thought quickly fades. Ji would be upset if she used him for entertainment. Still, his presence lingers in her mind. She keeps forgetting and remembering him again, as if caught in a loop. Strangely, she even begins taking an interest in baseball, a sport she had never cared for. Now, his face seems to appear everywhere. Articles, highlights, news feeds, and every glimpse of him makes her oddly happy, proud even, to have once shared some piece of her past with him. A few days later, as she worries about her next role, knowing that not working means unemployment, her phone suddenly rings. Ji Taeho's name flashes across the screen. She answers. His voice is calm, but edged with something more personal as he asks why she hasn't contacted him yet, confessing that he's been waiting days. He presses if she still cannot remember him and quickly assures her that he isn't a creep. Then, half teasing, half serious, he asks if she is so busy that she cannot call him, busier even than he is. She apologizes, explaining that it completely slipped her mind that night. It wasn't intentional. He mutters that it had been hard for him to even get her number and that he felt like he'd crossed a line, but then brushes it off with, "Never mind." She laughs, the tension breaking. Surprised, he asks why she's laughing. Her answer is simple. She remembers him now. And then, almost without hesitation, she suggests that they meet again. He asks if she can make time to meet the next day before he leaves town. She agrees, on one playful condition. He must buy her a meal. When he teases her about wanting more, she laughs and says all she really craves is junk food, but insists they eat in a private room, away from the eyes that always follow her. For her, the excitement isn't just about food. Years of dieting for delicate on-screen roles had drained her. Endless interviews about weight left her repeating the same rehearsed answers. Yoga, Pilates, and good genes. In truth, she longed for rice and meat. Sitting across from him now, she can't hide her delight. And when he asks, she admits how hard it is to manage her weight and how lonely it feels to come to places like this alone. He reminds her that she once had plenty of friends, but she explains that filming left her isolated, her character roles keeping her at a distance even from co-stars. Unlike him, she feels she hasn't changed much. He disagrees gently, telling her she's become more beautiful than ever. He recalls watching her grow from minor drama roles to leading movies and commercials, pointing out how similar their careers are. Both lived under the public's scrutiny, both judged harshly if they failed. They begin eating, and soon he orders more beef and drinks. She studies him quietly, broader now, stronger yet still carrying a boyish charm. The thought of their age gap, 5 years, flashes through her mind, but she quickly dismisses it. After all, in their industry, such gaps were nothing unusual. When she offers him a drink, he politely declines, explaining his strict training schedule. 6 days a week, with even rest days filled with warm-ups. Tomorrow, he tells her, he must leave for Daegu, and his games will run until the end of autumn. Smiling, he suggests they meet again in winter when his schedule eases. Curious, she asks if he would mind her mentioning their meeting to others. She imagines how it might sound if, one day on a variety show, she casually mentions that he used to come over and eat at her place often. Lately, she has appeared on a few shows, but nothing memorable enough to stand out, and she receives some criticism for it. She isn't sure when another opportunity will come, yet she keeps this story in the back of her mind, ready to use if needed. When she asks if he would mind, he wonders aloud why she needs his permission at all. Still, he gives his blessing, even suggesting that she should say they are still close. The gesture touches her, and she quietly admits to herself that he is right. One should always treat others with kindness, because the future has a way of turning people into something greater than anyone could have predicted. They laugh together, confessing that neither of them ever imagined the other would grow into who they are now. The conversation flows easily until, in a bold yet half-drunken impulse, she asks if he would like to come over for coffee. Beneath her invitation lies a quiet desire to show him how far she has come, how successful her life has become, symbolized by her apartment she proudly owns outright. He agrees. Once inside, she talks freely, sharing stories about her life. He asks to see more of her apartment, and she agrees. In her room, he kisses her. For a moment, she freezes, surprised, but then he murmurs that she is far too skinny. He insists that he will make sure to buy her food more often, as if caring for her is already his responsibility. She attempts to stop him, uncertain, but he leans closer and asks if she has a boyfriend. When she shakes her head, he admits that he doesn't have a girlfriend either, and suggests that there is no reason for them not to continue. He wonders if she truly isn't interested, but she cannot bring herself to respond. Silence hangs between them as her gaze refuses to leave his body. Drawn by the intensity, the distance between them disappears and they move into intimacy. The next morning, she wakes to find that Tae-ho is gone. For a moment, she convinces herself that everything that happened was only a dream. She drifts back to sleep and wakes again around midday. While pouring herself a glass of Coke, it spills, and as she tries to figure out how to clean the mess, she recalls how Tae-ho had pushed her into it all. A thought nags at her. She hopes she isn't just a one-night stand to him. Still, she admits to herself that she was the one who brought him home. She wonders when Tae-ho became such a charmer, how he managed to be so good despite claiming to lack experience, and concludes that he must be involved with others. The following day, Tae-ho sends her a message, asking if she slept well and wishing her a good day. She finds herself puzzled, questioning whether all young people behave like this, contacting as if nothing significant happened. She wants to tell him something but holds back, unwilling to say it over text. She knows he is busy, while she has only a few meetings, some already canceled, and a role as a supporting actress in a small drama series. They continue exchanging messages. He tells her that he won something, and she congratulates him before mentioning she is occupied. He then asks when they will meet again. Days pass without seeing him. Several days later, they meet again. Tae-ho brings up what they had discussed the other day, but Daye can't recall. He reminds her. He had asked her to be in a relationship. Then, with a serious look, he tells her she only agreed to what happened because they were in a relationship. He questions if she gives her messages, her calls, her goodnight wishes, to just anyone. Daye notices he's upset. Tears roll down his cheek as he asks if he was just a one-night stand to her. She quickly answers, no. But he presses, if that's true, then why doesn't she see him that way? She tells him to lower his voice and asks why he's crying. He asks if he did something wrong or if he isn't good enough. She replies softly that he's the best. Then he asks what the problem is. Daye doesn't know how to answer. Deep down, she wonders if they're dating now, but reminds herself it's impossible. She's known him since he was a kid. How could she see him as a man? He's too young and she's already past 30. What happened wasn't really her fault, she thinks. It just happened. For Tae-ho, though, things couldn't be clearer. To her, their reunion might have been coincidence, but to him, it was fate. Back then, he had been tipped off by a woman who told him about the party. At first, he thought of blocking her, but when she mentioned the staff and actors would be there, he knew Daye would come too. He broke his routine just to attend, just for her. And the moment he saw her again, his heart nearly stopped. Looking back, it all makes sense. He had been fragile as a child, often absent from school, the last boy anyone would expect to become a professional baseball player. He almost didn't give her his number that night because she hadn't called, and it stung. But instead of sulking, he searched for her. He asked Woo Young, asked anyone until he finally got her number. Now, he tells himself, the bond is rekindled. Daye was his first love, and unlike the usual disappointment of meeting a first love again, she didn't let him down. She's even more radiant, even more magnificent. And for him, first love is meant to be unforgettable. He never wanted her to remember him as the weak boy from the past. He wanted her to see him as the man he had become. Tae-ho suspects that Daye must have looked him up the day she didn't call, which is why she later claims to remember him when he phones. After that call, the next day his game begins at noon. His team wins, but Tae-ho can barely focus. His thoughts keep circling back to Daye, and he wonders if their time together was only a dream. After the game, a teammate teases him, asking if they agreed to meet again. Tae-ho brushes it off, saying things are complicated, especially with the season in full swing. He lowers his voice, warning the guy not to speak too loudly before others overhear, then admits he's just planning to have dinner with a girl from his old neighborhood. The teammate laughs and tells Tae-ho not to waste time, that he should take his chance. He jokes about baseball players having strong hips and says Tae-ho should turn on the charm. Tae-ho, irritated, tells him he's out of line, but the man just laughs and slips something into his pocket. Just in case. Tae-ho quickly insists he isn't looking for that kind of relationship with Daye. Another teammate joins in, reminding him that Daye is older and might still see him as a boy, but adds that his body is his real weapon. Tae-ho walks off, shaking his head and thinking they're all lunatics. Even with the teasing, he's been on fire in games lately. His bat connects with every ball exploding off the field. In quiet moments, he thinks about how Daye would react if his mistakes cost the team points, and he pushes himself harder, motivated by the chance that she might be watching. For that, he feels grateful. She makes him want to be the best this season. The following day, they meet for their date. When Tae-ho sees Daye, his breath catches. She looks even more beautiful than he remembers. As they sit together, they talk about his matches, and he tells her he'll be traveling to Daegu the next day. But he notices that their conversations keep circling back to the past, and he wonders if she still only sees him as a kid. Daye quietly admits that she doesn't feel as successful as he is. Tae-ho tells her he already knows about her work. He's watched all her shows, even rewatched compilations of her appearances last summer. Daye looks at him, surprised. That was when she asked if he would like to come to her place. He wonders if it's really okay for a first date. His brain starts to go haywire, racing faster than it ever does, even in the middle of a match. But he agrees to go with her. She notices there's still food left and mentions it, but he gently reminds her that she's drunk, lying that there isn't any left, and promises to make it up to her. He even jokes that he could open a meat restaurant for her. She laughs and asks if that means she'd be the boss. Tae-ho thinks it's too early for that, but then he realizes that what his teammates said earlier actually makes quite a bit of sense. The morning after the act, Tae-ho wants them to have breakfast together. He opens the fridge, wondering what she's been eating, and decides he'll buy her plenty of good things to enjoy once the season is over. Before leaving, he leaves a note for her, saying he enjoyed the night, that he will contact her later, and that he loves her. On the bus with his teammates, he admits to himself that he's glad the season went smoothly. Otherwise, things could have gone badly with his colleagues. Since that night, he can't stop smiling like an idiot. His teammates notice and tease him, guessing that things are going well with the girl. One moves closer to confirm if Tae-ho did something the previous night. He denies it, but the man tells him at least to be believable. When asked who the famous young lady is that makes him smile so much, Tae-ho explains briefly and tells him to leave him alone. He wants to sleep. In the dressing room, the teammate notices a scratch on his shoulder. Tae-ho says he got it from a stray cat he cares for, and questions whether the guy knows his whole life. Tae-ho reflects that baseball doesn't end with a home run. Anything can happen until the very last moment. 3 months later, he's having dinner with Daye. He wonders if he's just a one-night stand to her, noting it feels like a bad omen. He's used to living up to expectations, so this feedback unsettles him. Daye tells him to lower his voice, warning that he'll get in trouble if people hear them. She admits that he kind of pushed her into things. She isn't ready for a relationship. He's too young, she's too old, and she doesn't like professional athletes. Tae-ho jokes that he can retire or become a coach if that's what she wants. Daye internally reflects that he doesn't realize how important he is to the team. He's the best player of the season, like an actor retiring after winning a Cannes Award. She notes that if his fans found out, they might blame her. She also acknowledges how reckless he is, and that few people in the country have his physique. He insists on calling his coach, but she suggests they discuss matters factually and not let emotions take over. Daye thinks she has seen this type of scenario before. A young, innocent girl with a mean boyfriend who later regrets his actions after she dumps him. Often, the ex ends up watching her be happy with someone else, which the audience enjoys for catharsis. She recognizes the misunderstanding between them and notes that, if resolved, he might even post about it on social media. Tae-ho asks if the message mean good luck on his match, and she questions if he wants to come over to discuss it. Daye notes to herself that this misunderstanding shouldn't be sorted out in public. She knows it isn't the best solution, especially since something happened the last time she brought him home. But she doesn't mind. Tae-ho accepts her invitation. At her place, she asks if he really wants to go out with her. To her surprise, tears rolls down his cheeks. When she asks why, he explains that he thought they were already together. She apologizes, saying she only raised the question as a way to broach the subject, since she already knew he liked her. Confused, Tae-ho presses her. Why did she think they weren't a couple? She asks if he's ever properly asked her to date him. Flustered, he immediately asks if she would like to date him, insisting they can start right away. He explains that he thought their relationship was already something more. After all, he even left her a letter last time. Shocked, she says she never saw it. He admits he's too embarrassed to tell her what he wrote. Still hurt, Tae-ho points out that she wouldn't have gone so far with him if she didn't like him. He thought everything was fine between them. When she insists it was, he asks why she doesn't want to date him, frustration rising in his voice. To her, it feels like talking to a wall. She thinks privately that she had been drunk, that curiosity had gotten the better of her, and that for her it was a mistake. But she knows she can't tell him that outright. When he asks if he isn't man enough for her, She admits silently that in some ways it's true, and his emotional outbursts don't help. But instead of crushing him, she decides to comfort him. She explains that they've only seen each other twice as adults, and she never expected things to turn out like this. She's changed a lot since then, she says. Maybe she isn't the person he thinks she is. Tae-ho asks who she has become. He admits that he was really happy to see her, but now he feels like his feelings aren't being returned. He asks why she didn't tell him sooner, confessing that he had been looking forward to the end of the season, dreaming of eating good food together and simply having fun. Now he just feels like an idiot. Moved, Daye tries to console him. Daye tells Tae-ho that maybe they should have started by simply getting to know each other first. Jumping into a relationship this fast doesn't feel right to her. Tae-ho pushes back, saying it's true she doesn't know him very well, but the same goes the other way. Daye insists that she's never dated someone without first knowing who they really are. Sure, they were close as kids, but now she has no idea who he's become. In her mind, the age gap weighs heavily, and on top of that, she feels pressure to settle down soon. So she proposes they start as friends, maybe see each other 2 or 3 times a week. She promises to show him her real self, because she suspects the image he has of her is just a fantasy. Secretly, she believes that if they spend enough time together, doing things, meeting often, the illusion will wear off. Either they'll naturally drift apart, or at best, their bond can return to something more brotherly. But Tae-ho refuses. He doesn't have that kind of time. Training for the new season starts again in just 2 months. Seeing each other once or twice a week won't work for him. He wants to see her every day. To date her like it's a job they both show up for? Daye hesitates, but she gives in, on the condition that they avoid crowded places. Even if she's not wildly famous, she's still a recognizable face. They agree to meet often and to spend Christmas together. Still, they're coming at this from completely different perspectives. It feels like a relationship between a celebrity and a fan. There's always a wall between them. For the celebrity, fans are cherished but faceless, a collective rather than individuals. For the fan, though, the connection feels deeply personal. Like the celebrity knows them and shares something intimate with them, even when that isn't the case. Only the most devoted fans manage to carry that feeling without letting it fade. That's exactly what Daye and Tae-ho's relationship looks like. They barely know each other as adults, yet their expectations couldn't be more different. For Tae-ho, his feelings go way back. As a child, he was fragile and isolated, the weakest in his class, with no real friends. Daye was the only one who treated him like he mattered, playing with him, inviting him over. For her, those memories may have been small, insignificant. But for Tae-ho, they were everything. Even something as simple as their talks after playing cops and robbers etched themselves into his heart. Once, Daye had complained that she was terrible at the game and wondered why the other kids kept choosing her. Tae-ho remembered thinking it was obvious. They were all in love with her. Moments like that were like fresh air to him, tiny lifelines he held on to. And then, after Daye left, all that remained of her was the legend of the famous neighborhood big sister. One day, Tae-ho saw Daye appear on television, and he was stunned. He had no idea she had become an actress. Almost instinctively, he looked her up online, but to his disappointment, she didn't keep a fan page or any way for him to reach her directly. Still, he saved her photos, holding on to the thought of her as if she were closer than she really was. Time passed, and Tae-ho kept that quiet connection alive, following her career from afar. Then finally, fate gave him an opening, a party hosted by a director of one of Daye's series. Normally, Tae-ho hated gatherings, disliked drinking, and avoided noisy crowds. But that night, he went anyway, because she would be there. Meeting her again felt surreal. When he handed her his phone number, it was as if he were walking on air. The ease of it shocked him. Everything happened so simply, almost suspiciously so, yet Tae-ho let himself believe it was destiny. He told himself they were meant for each other. He even let his imagination run ahead, picturing marriage, a future together, the life he always dreamed of. For Daye, though, that night had been nothing more than a mistake, blurred by alcohol. She still sees him as the kid from their childhood, not the man he is now. To Tae-ho, that feels unfair. He noticed her pity for him, but instead of resenting it, he decided to use it, to give everything he has. Baseball taught him that no pitcher ever throws an easy ball. It's up to the batter to create the chance and swing. He had just been named best player of the season, and he told himself he could pull this off too. Just as he manages to win her agreement to start dating by pretending to cry, he is determined to take things step by step this time. He thinks back to when the neighborhood kids used to flock to Daye's house. Maybe she hadn't always wanted to host them, but she went along with it anyway. To Tae-ho, their current situation isn't so different. He promises himself he won't burden her or make her uncomfortable. Instead, he dreams of taking her to fine restaurants, sharing stories of the old days, learning about her life now, everything he had been yearning to ask her for years. When he suggests a place, she seems surprised. So he adds that if they go abroad, she can move freely without worrying about being recognized, and he will cover the trip. She quickly clarifies that money isn't the issue. Tae-ho admits he has spoken without thinking. But deep down, he wants to accelerate things. He can't hold it in anymore. Wrapping his arms around her, he confesses he loved her like crazy. She begins to wonder how things ended up this way. Their relationship feels so strained now that she thinks it might be better if they stopped meeting altogether. Looking at him, she questions if he is truly the Tae-ho she once knew. The boy from her memories was thin, small, and often left out when other children played. Back then, she felt responsible for watching over him, almost like it was her duty. But the man standing before her is nothing like that Tae-ho, so different that she even questions whether their reunion is real. Perhaps it was nothing but an illusion, and he is either a completely different person or simply someone who happens to share the same name. When he suggests a place for them to go, she refuses. Still, curiosity lingers in her mind. She wonders if he has ever had a girlfriend before, and what kind of ex-girlfriend might have been in his life. As her thoughts circle around him, she questions what exactly he wants from her. His response only makes her feel more unsettled, as if he intends to take charge of everything while expecting her to simply accept it. Not long after, he suggests that they get something delicious to eat. When she asks where he plans to take her, he keeps it a mystery, telling her only to wear something warm because of the chilly weather. He casually asks if she enjoys seafood, and she chooses not to resist, following along with him. Once they are in the car, she grows more curious and finally asks where they are going. When he mentions Daejeon, she is taken aback, wondering why he would drive so far when there are countless restaurants in Seoul. He only remarks that she should rest if she feels tired, since the journey will take some time. Eventually, after she dozes off, his voice pulls her back to consciousness as he calls out for her to wake up. She wakes with a start, a strange thought flashing through her mind. Did he just kiss her? But before she can dwell on it, Tae-ho greets her with a bright, almost boyish smile and announces that they've arrived. The sight before her makes her pause. The place looks warm and refined, the kind of restaurant she would never have set foot in on her own. When he asks if she likes dim sum, she admits she loves it, and soon they are poring over the menu together. Dish after dish arrives, and she tries each one, savoring the flavors. She thinks to herself that she has never eaten at a place this elegant until now, and for the first time in a while, she feels grateful. Tae-ho really is kind, she admits silently, to bring her somewhere like this. As if reading her thoughts, Tae-ho explains that he often eats there after matches, and that's exactly why he wanted to share it with her. After the meal, he pays without hesitation, leaving her with a quiet sense of being cared for. Back in the car, she remarks that she could never have finished all of that by herself. He chuckles, telling her she could always freeze the food and eat it the next day. Then he adds something simple but oddly grounding, that when the stomach is full, the mind is at ease. Their next stop surprises her. When they arrive, she asks why they are there. Tae-ho explains it's just for a walk, to see the view. She hesitates, eyeing the slope ahead, and asks if it isn't too dangerous to head toward the mountain. He only shakes his head, reassuring her that it isn't, and that he will protect her. The air grows cooler as they climb, the path quiet except for their footsteps. She finds the calmness soothing, the stillness wrapping around her like a blanket. Almost at the top, Tae-ho reaches for her hand, and though it catches her off guard, she doesn't pull away. Standing there, she breathes in the crisp air and remarks on how beautiful it all is, confessing it's her first time in a place like this. Tae-ho smiles, his eyes shining, and asks if she wants some coffee. She realizes then that walking beside him, hand in hand, is more enjoyable than she ever imagined. By the next morning, when his car pulls up in front of her place, she thanks him softly and steps out, telling him to go home safe. A small smile touches her lips. She likes that he didn't try to follow her inside again. Before she closes the door, Tae-ho leans forward and suggests they meet the next day. Then he casually asks if she likes spicy mushroom noodle soup. She smiles and says she does. But a few days later, she catches herself thinking about it too much. about all the meals, all the indulgent dishes, and wonders if Tae-ho is secretly trying to fatten her up. Eating with him is fun, yes, but she steps on the scale and groans. 56.3 kilograms. She had promised herself she'd keep her weight down, but lately she's forgotten all about it. At first, she worried that because their relationship began with something physical, Tae-ho might only want her body. Now, she isn't even sure if what they have could be called dating. To her, it feels like it's all just about eating and eating. The weight gain frustrates her, and she vows to lose it again. Meanwhile, Tae-ho has his own thoughts. He suspects that maybe the reason she refused his offer to go to Okinawa is because she's still afraid of moving forward. But in his heart, he reassures himself. So far, he's already touched bases 1 through 3. He just needs patience to reach home plate. The next day, when he offers her another meal, she waves it off, insisting she's already full. He had also planned to take her to see a game, but then he worries. What if she doesn't enjoy it? What if she hates hearing him curse during play? Or worse, what if other men notice her in the stands? Still, he's happy enough just watching her eat heartily. On the way home, he feels satisfied, telling himself that today he got to do everything by her side. Then, as if a memory suddenly comes to him, Tae-ho recalls how, back when she moved away, all the neighborhood kids cried. Daye had comforted them by giving out her new address so they could write her letters. "Did you give the wrong address?" Tae-ho asks carefully. "Because none of us ever got a reply." Silence. He turns to see her fast asleep. For a moment, he aches to pull her into his arms, but he stops himself. Not this time. He doesn't want to scare her off. Instead, he whispers inwardly to be patient. He'll take it slow, one step at a time. Like a batter waiting for the right pitch, he tells himself he'll set small goals, a list of little things he wants to do with her, so she can slowly grow used to him. Their next outing brings them to an unusual place. Daye asks if he's ever heard of Silent Hill. When he says no, she explains it's a ghost town filled with terrifying monsters. And honestly, this place feels just as eerie. Tae-ho laughs and admits he picked it because people said it was quiet. "Guess it's more creepy than quiet," he mutters. It turns out to be a zoo, oddly famous for its peaceful atmosphere, though Tae-ho has no idea why. They share some red bean bread, which is said to be the local specialty. Then Tae-ho brightens with an idea. He'll teach her some baseball. He takes her to a batting cage run by a retired senior. The place is empty, and she marvels aloud, "Why isn't anyone else here?" This place is amazing. Tae-ho stays quiet, unwilling to confess that he secretly rented the entire cage. He just wanted it to be private, so he could teach her without distractions. And then, bat in hand, he begins showing her the basics. He holds her hand and carefully guides her on how to hit the ball, trying to make her follow the movement. Doubt fills her mind, and she closes her eyes as if she cannot trust herself to get it right. He encourages her to relax and keep her eyes open, to focus only on where the ball is coming from. Still, she fails to catch the rhythm and apologizes in embarrassment for not being able to do it. Afterward, the two of them head to a theater together. The sight of such a large and empty hall makes her curious, and she asks if no one else is really going to be there. He reassures her not to worry, reminding her that the movie will begin soon. When the film starts, he quietly thinks to himself that he might have chosen the wrong one, since the story feels a bit odd and not what he expected. He also wonders if it is truly that sad, because beside him, she is silently wiping tears away from her eyes. On their way back, she suddenly asks whether he thinks the woman in the movie truly loved the man. He answers honestly that, in his opinion, it did not seem like love. If she had really loved him, she would have chosen to go with him, although he admits that he cannot be sure of what the woman's feelings actually were. She goes further, asking why the couple in the story were not affectionate toward each other, and whether it is not often the case that people only realize love after the person is gone. He questions her back, wondering if it is really so. She only tells him not to worry, assuring him that he will come to understand once he is older. He reflects that their age gap is not very wide at all, and she smiles in response. As he leans closer to her, he worries that he might be rushing things again, that perhaps he might frighten her with his pace. She suddenly mentions that she had eaten gamjatang earlier, but he calmly notes that it is fine and not a problem for him. He then kisses her, admitting that she is driving him crazy. To be sure of her state, he asks whether she is sober this time. Wanting clarity, he also asks if they are truly dating. He notices her hesitation and questions if she is unsure, but quickly reassures her that there is nothing to fear, confessing that he genuinely likes her. She quietly thinks to herself that spending time with him truly feels fun. The next day arrives. He asks what they should eat, but she immediately responds that she does not want to eat anything with him anymore. Startled, he asks why. She explains that she has gained 5 kilos, but he quickly insists that there is no way she could have gotten fat, pointing out that she is still slender. He even blurts out that he did not realize just how beautiful she actually looks. Then he wonders aloud if her refusal to eat with him means she wants to break up, but he quickly apologizes for saying so. She explains instead that she cannot join him because she has an audition and a meeting with a producer, also adding that her pants no longer fit properly. He looks at her and thinks to himself that, in his eyes, she still appears slim like chopsticks, and he wonders what he should do. Out loud, he explains that he never wanted her to be too thin in the first place, reminding her that if she continues dieting too harshly, it will harm her health and may make her sick. She counters that he does not understand her situation, brushing off his concern. Wanting to help, he suggests that they could work out together instead, promising to support her in losing weight in a healthier way before his summer training break comes to an end. Deep down, he does not want to miss any more opportunities with her, and he hopes that by doing this, they can continue to stay close before he eventually leaves for summer training. She finds herself troubled by her own emotions, thinking that perhaps she should not be doing this, yet she cannot ignore the truth. When she kissed him, she enjoyed it, and being with him has turned out to be far more delightful than she ever imagined. Tae-ho, whom she once thought was entirely out of her reach, simply because she knew nothing about baseball, is slowly stealing her heart. What draws her in is not the sport, but the way he approaches everything with sincerity, so unlike her first impression of him, when she had dismissed him as another careless playboy. She admits to herself that she does not have much experience in love, but she always assumed that was how the celebrity world worked. In her mind, there were always 2 types of people: those who remained genuinely good, and those who discarded others once the initial sweetness faded. She thinks of the kind who lure women with charming words and a handsome face, then carry themselves arrogantly, as if those shallow traits made them special. The kind of men who are no different from garbage that cannot be recycled. At first, she gave anyone who approached her a chance because her love life was so barren. She reflects that perhaps her last relationship had been back in college, and even that was fleeting. In the harsh environment of the entertainment industry, she came to believe that maintaining a healthy relationship was nearly impossible. Because of that, she assumed Tae-ho would be just like the rest. But after actually spending time with him, she realizes he is different. He really does have feelings for her, deep feelings. And he has thought about her far more than she ever imagined. Now, as they sit together in a restaurant, Tae-ho asks about where she had moved to back then. She explains that it had all been due to her family's financial difficulties, admitting that everyone faces hard times and her family was no exception. She still remembers the children crying, but she cannot bring herself to tell him the full truth, that they had moved into a smaller apartment after selling nearly everything they owned. Instead, she apologizes and confesses that she was the one who gave him the wrong address back then. She explains that she had written it deliberately, thinking it would be too painful to keep receiving letters from them all. He listens and then realizes something that weighs on him. To him, it feels like a shame, because he had actually sent her letters, wondering all along why she never replied. He even went to the address once, only to find that there was no house there, just a cluster of shops. She reacts with surprise, but he tells her it was only because he was so curious about her. He recalls that she had always played with him, kept him company, and helped him in ways that mattered. She laughs lightly, wondering what she could have possibly done to deserve such gratitude. Curious in return, she asks when he started playing baseball. He answers that it was about 2 years after she left, which would have been around the time he was in 5th grade. He admits that he had no talent in the beginning, that he was a terrible batter who could not score a single point. At one point, he thought it was over for him, since he did not know what else he could do. But then he saw her appear on television. She remembers that role, a minor supporting character that nobody was supposed to notice. She had been thrilled to finally be on screen, though she assumed no one would ever remember it. Yet, while their paths only crossed again much later, Tae-ho had already been watching her for a long time. She confesses that in that drama she was merely the villain, a role meant to be disliked. But he responds that her acting had been wonderful and that he had felt happy just to see her again. Strangely enough, it was that moment which gave him motivation once more. Seeing how much effort she put into becoming an actress, he decided he could not allow himself to lose. He had to prove that he was serious too, and that was when determination took hold of him. With a smile, he admits that he would have felt ashamed to meet her again if he was still nothing. To actually see her again and show her his progress fills him with pride, and he asks if it is not amazing. She thinks silently to herself that this is what it feels like. To know that something she has done has become someone else's source of hope. Later that night, lying in bed, her thoughts return to love. She questions why she now connects that word to Tae-ho, and the thought feels absurd. She recalls that back when she filmed that drama, she had only been in her early 20s, which means Tae-ho had still been a teenager. She cannot quite believe that someone so young had been thinking about her all. Along, she wonders if she has lost her mind, because if she were to date, she would want to do it seriously, with the intention of something long-term, with someone who has marriage in mind. If she were still in her 20s, being with Tae-ho might make sense, but the age gap now feels far too large. She questions herself, trying to understand why she keeps letting him slip into her life, and whether it is only because she wants to fill the free time between her filming schedules. She admits to herself that the hand which had grown used to being held by him now feels empty. Ever since the day she cried at the cafe, they still meet each day, but he never once reaches for her hand again. She guesses that he must feel guilty, thinking that his actions had burdened her. Then one day, while she is still caught in her confusion about her feelings, he appears in her dream. In that dream, they become intimate, and when she wakes, she finds it unbearably difficult to look at his face. He has awakened her to a world of burning desire that she never expected to feel. She remembers the day they watched the movie together, the film itself, and the conversation that followed. She wonders if she will ever be able to act purely according to her heart, ignoring the judgment of others. And she cannot understand why, no matter how much she resists, she is always drawn back to him. On a bright and peaceful morning, she wakes up with unease, wondering what is happening to her. For as long as she can remember, she has practiced yoga regularly to keep her body in ideal shape. But 3 months ago, she began skipping her workouts, and now, when she finally tries to return to her routine, she realizes how difficult it has become. Her body no longer moves as easily as it once did, and the difference shocks her. Another woman points out that it must be because of the fat that has formed, then openly questions if Daye has gained weight. Quietly, Daye admits to herself that aside from Tae-ho, who continues to treat her with sweetness and kindness, her body has indeed gotten heavier. She is even afraid to step on a scale to confirm it. Still, she cannot hide from the truth any longer. The reality becomes clear when she pulls on a pair of jeans and, while bending down to put on her socks, the fabric rips apart. She stares in disbelief, unable to accept the number the scale shows afterward. She has never been the type to gain weight easily, so she cannot understand how this has happened, and deep regret fills her. The very next day, she tells Tae-ho firmly that she does not want to eat anything with him anymore. Instead of being upset, he quickly suggests a different solution. They should work out together at his place, since he has his own gym there. Up until now, she realizes they have always gone to her place or spent time outside together. She has never once been to his home. Soon, they arrive at his residence, and she is taken aback. To her, it feels like a truly beautiful house, well-kept and conveniently located right in the heart of Seoul. But there is little time to admire the surroundings. Tae-ho tells her that they should begin with a warm-up and then proceed with 3 sets of 100 squats each. She reacts in shock, unable to believe that is where he wants to start. Seeing her hesitation, he offers to let them begin with something lighter if that is easier for her. Time passes, and after nearly 3 hours, she reaches her limit. Exhausted, she begs him to hold on and give her a break. But Tae-ho insists on doing one more set, claiming that such exercises do not harm anyone. He tells her that she is exaggerating, that she is overthinking it, and that he is sure she can handle something this simple. For him, it is only basic training, but for her, it feels like endless suffering. Inside, she cannot help but think that this is not a workout, but pure torture. If gaining weight is such a crime, then it was Tae-ho himself who caused it by eating with her so often. Yet now she is the one being punished through all this strenuous exercise. She wonders half seriously if he is still holding a grudge against her for never replying to his letters in the past. Finally, she tells him that she is thirsty, desperate for relief. But he simply responds that she can drink water only after finishing the workout. Reaching her breaking point, she tries to stand, determined to stop, but Tae-ho stops her firmly, telling her to push through and complete just one more set. She continues to push herself, even while thinking that Tae-ho may have forgotten one important truth. The workouts ordinary people do and the training athletes endure are worlds apart. Tae-ho, after all, has lived differently since middle school, warming up with 30 or 40 laps before even beginning his real training. What is easy and natural for him feels like a mountain to her. At one point, while struggling with a weight that feels too heavy, she pleads with him to help her. Tae-ho, however, calmly tells her to keep holding it with her shoulder, or else she will get hurt. She protests more seriously this time, but he remains unmoved, comparing her situation to that of a mountain lion raising its cubs by dropping them from a cliff. With that same philosophy, he declares, the harsher the training she endures, the greater the results she will achieve. Exhausted and frustrated, she cannot help but wonder what kind of love this is, when he is making her suffer so much. Later, sprawled on the couch in defeat, she mutters weakly that all she wanted was to lose a little weight, not be tortured to death. Tae-ho immediately asks if she is all right, but when she tries to get up, she collapses again, groaning that her back feels like it might snap in two. He begins to wonder if perhaps he has taken things too far, offering to help her, but she only crawls away in stubborn resistance. As she finally gets a chance to shower, she reflects bitterly that not only has she gained weight, but now she is also being subjected to these hellish workouts, all from someone who claims to love her. Still, despite her suffering, she admits inwardly that she does not want to show Tae-ho her worst side. He keeps calling her Noona with that affectionate tone, and so she decides she will tell him later, gently, that she doesn't want to train with him anymore. When they sit down to eat afterwards, she finally voices her thoughts, telling him directly that she doesn't want to continue. Surprised, he asks what she means. She explains that it feels as though they live in completely different worlds. Tae-ho pleads with her to reconsider, telling her she can't just give up like this. But she stands firm, saying she doesn't care if he wants quick results. He cannot force an athlete's training standards on her ordinary body. Such extreme training, she insists, could even drive someone to collapse completely. For the first time, she notices tears in his eyes. She asks why, and he asks in return if she really wants them to break up. He confesses that he feels they are completely incompatible and admits he always feared this day might come. Overcome, he grabs her hands, hugs her tightly, and desperately asks to confirm. Aren't they dating, and isn't she just saying all this in frustration? She gasps for air in his arms, calling out that she can't breathe, and Tae-ho quickly lifts her into his arms, placing her gently on the couch. She takes a deep breath and tells him quietly that, yes, she thinks they are dating. When she first saw him, she never imagined it would turn out this way, but now she admits that they really are a couple. Her career constantly demands she maintain a flawless appearance, perfect in every detail. Even airbrushed magazine photos, smoothed with Photoshop, are still met with waves of criticism. And yet today, she pushed herself so much that she collapsed onto his sofa in sheer exhaustion. She admits inwardly that Tae-ho really does love her. His feelings are sincere. But still, she cannot bring herself to ever want to work out with him again because his training methods feel far too cruel. Meanwhile, Tae-ho watches her carefully, realizing she has fallen asleep from pure fatigue. He sighs to himself, admitting he really did push her too far this time. Still, he cannot resist carrying her to his bed, laying her down gently and watching her for a while. He hadn't expected her to stay over, and certainly not to fall asleep in his room. Yet as he sits there, his thoughts tangled and restless, he admits to himself that this moment feels almost like Christmas came early. Chapter 22. The following morning, Tae-ho is startled by a strange sound coming from the room. He rushes inside only to find her lying in bed, struggling. Alarmed, he immediately questions what is wrong. She weakly responds that she cannot move her body, claiming she feels completely paralyzed. His face fills with worry as he kneels beside her, asking again if she is truly all right. Though the fear lingers in his chest, relief washes over him later once she manages to get up and join him for breakfast. While setting the table, Tae-ho silently thanks the heavens that she seems okay, even though deep down, guilt gnaws at him for pushing her so hard. As they eat together, he asks softly if the food tastes good. She nods, saying yes, then hesitantly questions him again, wanting to make sure the meal won't make her gain weight. He reassures her quickly, promising it is healthy food, designed not to add to her worries. Still, she admits that it isn't about the food at all. Her stamina has always been weak, and yesterday she truly thought she might collapse for good because of him. Tae-ho listens silently, regretful. Gathering his courage, he asks if she might allow him to train her one more time, now that he understands her limits. But she shakes her head firmly, telling him she will handle her training on her own, and he is never to interfere with it again. A few days later, however, she steps on the scale and notices she has already lost 3.5 kilograms. She cannot help but celebrate, thrilled by the progress. At the same time, she secretly wonders if she might lose even more weight if she had continued with Taeho's harsh training. She recalls the moment he asked for another chance to guide her, the plea in his eyes, and she regrets refusing him. If only she had known it would yield results like this, perhaps she would not have stopped him. Time slips by, and before she realizes it, Christmas has arrived. When discussing it with Tae-ho, she insists that cake and champagne will be more than enough, that he shouldn't go overboard buying other things. She reflects quietly that it has been so long since she last spent Christmas with someone. The only reason she is celebrating this year is because Tae-ho wanted to. But despite her words, Tae-ho does not hold back. He prepares a gift for her anyway. She is surprised when he hands it over, confessing that she hadn't prepared anything in return. Tae-ho brushes it off gently, telling her it doesn't matter. This gift is simply because it is their very first Christmas together. Encouraging her to open it, he watches her face as she lifts the clothing from the box. She smiles softly, saying it brings back old memories. Tae-ho nods, adding that he remembers those times clearly too. With a hint of nostalgia, he recalls how every Christmas she would prepare something unique for him. Instead of potato salad, she would pile a mountain of sunny-side-up eggs onto a plate, stick chopsticks in them like skewers, and then drench them in ketchup, declaring proudly that this was the true meaning of Christmas. She laughs, remembering how, back then, fried eggs were the only thing she knew how to cook. He goes on to remind her that she also always gave him a toy as a present. At the time, he could not understand why she was always so kind to him, especially when he had nothing to offer in return. She reassures him gently, telling him he never needed to think about paying her back. She then reflects on her childhood, admitting she had always been an only child, with parents constantly busy with work. Yet she never felt lonely because of the neighborhood kids, Tae-ho included. To her, they had all been her true family, and she had loved playing with every single one of them. Moved by the moment, Tae-ho leans closer and plants a soft peck on her lips, which soon turns into a deeper kiss. Afterwards, he pours himself another drink, then rests his head against her shoulder. With a sigh, he admits that he doesn't think he can drive anymore and suggests he might not go home tonight. She watches him, amused, thinking that the type of drink he had wasn't even strong enough to get someone drunk. Still, she responds gently that he doesn't need to leave. He should stay here tonight and return home in the morning.
If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe. It would really help us grow. Bye now.